And some duck.
It has that's a little duckling. That's right. I never saw that one before.
That's a little duck.
That is a little bluebird. Actually, that might not be a duckling either. It could just be some sort of yellow bird. In the story of Cinderella, what's going on over there? What are you doing?
See that pumpkin?
Yes, that's her coach, her magic coach, to take her to the ball.
There's
There's the pumpkin.
Do we not eat it?
We eat the pulpy part, the part from the inside. Yes.
Dad.
Please don't push on it. This is the land where long ago a beautiful maiden lived. Her name was Cinderella. Okay, Betch, if you scoot over, we'll make room for Catherine sweets. All right, everybody, scoot.
Scoot.
Yeah, scoot. Go ahead, get up there. Go ahead, get up. Climb up. Her name was Cinderella. Yeah, go ahead, climb up. Cinderella lived in a splendid house, but she was not happy. Her two stepsisters, Drizella,
Mice.
and yes, mice, and Anastasia, and her stepmother were very cruel. In fact, they were as cruel as Cinderella was good and beautiful and kind. These were Cinderella's only friends in the splendid house: Jacques the mouse, Gus the mouse, Bruno the dog, and the little birds who lived nearby and sang to her each morning. Each day Cinderella scrubbed and swept and sewed for her sisters and her go ahead, get up there, and her stepmother. It was very hard work. Please don't do that. Don't mess with that. Please don't do that. But she sang while she worked, and she talked to her friends, the birds and the mice, and she was gay and sunshiny as you please. That was why one day her most wonderful dream came true. This is the... Shh. Go get your mama. This is... Right there. This is the palace where the prince lived and where he gave his wonderful ball, which is a fancy dance. Cinderella's stepsisters said the prince would choose one of the lovely ladies at the ball to be his bride, his wife. "Oh my," said Cinderella, "if only I could go too." But the cruel stepsisters laughed. "How could you go?" they jeered. "You don't have a gown to wear." A gown is a fancy dress. We'll help," shouted Gus and Jacques and their little mouse friends, and they did. They made a beautiful dress of old lace and beads and scraps of ribbon. Oh, Cinderella was happy then. "Look at me," she sang, "now I can go to the ball." Well, her stepsisters are mean because the story... Okay, so here's what happened. To understand what's happening to Cinderella in this story, let's go back to the first page. Whoops. The first page. Okay. This is Cinderella's stepmother, and these are her stepsisters. This woman with the gray hair is the mother of these two girls. This woman is not Cinderella's mother. Cinderella's mother died. Cinderella's mother died. And her father married another woman. So her father married this woman who had two daughters. So these two daughters are the daughters of this woman, but since Cinderella is not her daughter, since Cinderella is not the daughter of the woman with the gray hair, the woman with the gray hair is nice to her own daughters, but very mean to Cinderella. She makes Cinderella do all the work because Cinderella is not her daughter. And the girls are mean to her because their mother is mean to her, and because Cinderella is not their sister. Cinderella is the daughter of the man that their mother married. So the father is out of the picture. Maybe he's dead by this point. I don't even know. Her father is never part of the story. So it's possible that her mother died and her father married this woman, and then her father died, and now she's stuck with this woman who's not her, living with this woman who's not really her mother, and these girls who are not her sisters. So that's what's going on. So they're just mean to her all the time because she is not their sister, and because she's pretty and they're not very good looking. But Anastasia and Drizella were angry because Cinderella looked so pretty. They tore the lace from the dress. They snipped the beads and the ribbons. Soon there was nothing left but rags. Poor, poor Cinderella. She ran out into the garden, and there, all alone, she cried bitterly. But look, who is this? Why, it's Cinderella's fairy godmother. Don't cry, Cinderella, said the fairy. Godmother, I will say my magic words, and you may go to the ball after all. Bibbidi-bobbidi-boo! Those are her magic words. And then, do you know what happened? A pumpkin turned into a coach. The little mice turned into fine horses. Big Bruno the dog became a footman. That's the footman. And best of all, Cinderella was dressed in a gown fashioned of moonlight and stardust. On her tiny feet were lovely glass slippers. Have a good time, said the fairy godmother, but leave the ball at midnight, Cinderella, because that is when the magic spell will be broken. And what she means is that the coach will turn into a pumpkin, the horses will turn into mice again, and he'll become a dog. This is the ball where Cinderella danced, and this is where the prince fell in love with her. Why, this is what she left behind when the clock struck 12. One little glass slipper, right there, her shoe, that sparkled and glittered in the moonlight. The prince looked everywhere for his beautiful lady, but he could not find her. Cinderella walked home through the darkness in rags once more, with her little mouse friends. In her pocket she carried the other little glass slipper to remind her of her wonderful evening at the ball. This is the Duke, who was sent by the prince. He had the tiny glass slipper that Cinderella had left behind, and he was going to try it on every maiden. They are angry. On every maiden in the kingdom. We'll find out. So what he's doing is he's walking around with this slipper because the prince wants to marry the woman who is wearing the slipper. So now the woman who can put that slipper on her foot is going to become the princess. She's going to marry the prince. So all of the women want to marry the prince. So Drizella, is trying to put the slipper on her foot because she wants to marry the prince and become the princess, and she's angry because it doesn't fit on her foot. Anastasia, she wants to put the slipper on her foot so that she can marry the prince and become the princess. And it doesn't fit, so she's angry. But poor Cinderella was locked in her bedroom upstairs. No one told the Duke that there was still another sister in the splendid house. "What'll we do? What'll we do?" squeaked Jacques the Mouse. Then he had an idea. Quickly he climbed into the stepmother's pocket and stole the key to Cinderella's bedroom. Then he and the other mice carried it all the way upstairs. They pushed it under the door. "Hurry, hurry!" squeaked Jacques. Here is the wicked stepmother, who was very angry when Cinderella escaped from her room. She threw the Duke's glass slipper angrily to the floor. It broke. "Oh, this is terrible!" shouted the Duke. "You will be punished for this, madam." "But it doesn't matter," said Cinderella softly, "for you see, I have the other slipper." And she had, right there in the pocket of her apron. Then the Duke was happy, and Jacques and Gus were happy, and the birds were happy too. But Cinderella and the Prince were happiest of all, for after that their loveliest dreams came true together. Yes, the pumpkin and the coach and the fairy godmother. Yes,